law is premised on equal justice, but also we have evolved into due process. And it's really the due process. I, as a person who for a couple decades almost represented low-income people, it is due process that really equalizes those differences between people. If we follow the rule of law, then we're able to achieve that equal justice that we are promised and hope to have continue despite our differences, despite our class differences, despite our racial and religious differences.
A few moments later.
Judge, anything to say about this? FBI Director Kash Patel says a U.S. judge has been arrested for obstructing an immigration operation. Let's go live right now to our senior crime and justice correspondent, Caitlin Polans. Pretty dramatic. What are you learning, Caitlin?
Truly, Wolf, this is something that we have certainly not seen before, but appears to be part of this aggressive approach the Trump administration has toward immigration. What the FBI Director Kash Patel announced in a social media post just a few minutes ago this morning is that just now, the FBI arrested Judge Hannah Dugan out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, on charges of obstruction after evidence of Judge Dugan obstructing an immigration arrest operation last week. We believe Judge Dugan intentionally misdirected federal agents away from the subject to be arrested in her courthouse. Eduardo Flores Ruiz is the name that the FBI director puts out there about that subject, allowing the subject to evade arrest. Thankfully, our agents chased down the perp on foot, and he's been in custody since. But the judge's obstruction created increased danger to the public. So that's the FBI director laying out this apparent story and the developments this morning, Wolf, of what is happening with this arrest. We have reached out to the Milwaukee County Circuit Court, which is where the judge sits, Judge Hannah Dugan. They have not responded yet, and there isn't any publicly available information in the court record about this, but it would be a startling development if this judge was arrested as she was working on the bench as a judge handling an immigration case or a case of a person that ICE was also interested in. Wolf?
Yeah, very dramatic and significant indeed. Caitlin Polans reporting for us. Thank you very much, Pamela.
What could be a dramatic escalation in the Trump administration's deportation efforts. This week, the FBI arrested a judge in Milwaukee County, accusing her of helping an undocumented immigrant evade arrest by authorities in her courtroom. Our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas, has the details.
This week, a sitting state court judge is facing federal charges and up to 6 years in prison in what critics are saying is a major escalation in the Trump administration's effort to pressure officials to assist in deportation efforts targeting millions of undocumented immigrants.
Judge, anything to say about this?
Milwaukee County Circuit Judge Hannah Dugan seen here leaving court after being arrested by the FBI. Dugan faces multiple charges for allegedly obstructing ICE agents trying to arrest an undocumented immigrant. According to a newly unsealed indictment on April 18th, Dugan was visibly upset and had a confrontational, angry demeanor when she and another judge confronted a group of federal agents that had come to her courthouse to arrest Eduardo Flores Ruiz, an undocumented Mexican citizen who was in court to face misdemeanor domestic violence charges. Agents said she told him to go to see the chief judge of the courthouse and went back to her courtroom where Judge Dugan then escorted Flores Ruiz and his counsel out of the courtroom through a jury door. Flores Ruiz was later arrested near the courthouse.
She let a criminal defendant walk out a door. She helped them. She obstructed justice. And that's what she's charged with. If you commit a crime in this country, you're going to be held accountable. Doesn't matter. We're going to prosecute you. No one is above the law, not even a judge.
No justice.
News of the arrest drew protesters to the courthouse. Dugan's attorney saying in court she wholeheartedly protests the arrest and believes it was not made in the interest of public safety. That Wisconsin judge is vowing to fight the charges, but if convicted, she faces up to 6 years in prison.
What's up, y'all? Gerald here, creator of Gospel Chops and your host for this YouTube channel, back with another video. Now, y'all, if you saw my most recent video, I covered a judge that was recently arrested by the feds, he and his wife, for housing, for hiding, for harboring Venezuelan gang members from Tren de Aragua. Housing them, they lived with him. He gave them assault weapons, and they posted videos on social media, TikTok and whatnot, holding guns as illegal immigrants to this country. Yeah, he was arrested, confirmed by Kash Patel on the X platform. They're gonna lock him up, lock his wife up. And I asked in that recent video covering that story, what was the motivation? What could be motivating you to throw your entire life away, your career away, all those years you spent in college, all those years you spent on the bench? You and your wife gonna go down for this? What could be the motivation? Well, y'all, somebody reached out and said, I know the answer. They said, these people are being paid off by the cartels. Yeah, they are that entrenched in American society. They have bought off your judges. They have bought off your politicians. They have bought off your law enforcement. They are everywhere within your country. You have been infiltrated. You are about to be taken over. What would motivate a judge to hide out gang members, illegal immigrant gang members in his own home? Money. Money paid by the cartels. Well, y'all, that wasn't the end of the story, obviously. Because here we got another judge, a second judge to my knowledge. I expect there to be more coming soon. But this judge here in Milwaukee was recently arrested by the feds herself because she had an illegal immigrant in her courtroom. And she decided that she was going to sneak him out the back door because ICE came to pick him up. They said, hey, we heard you got an illegal immigrant in your courtroom. We got papers on this guy. We're here to collect him. She stashed him in the jury room because if you've ever served on a jury, you know the jury comes in from a different entrance. She said, we're going to stash you in the jury room, go out through that exit that the jury uses so that nobody in the courtroom gets to see them. Well, that resulted in a chase because the police, the feds had to chase the man down because he made a run for it at the judge's direction. Well, this judge, we can only imagine what made her do it. Maybe it was the same motivation of the previous judge. Or maybe it was just a left-wing whacked out ideology. Maybe it was Trump derangement syndrome. But this is bigger than Trump. This is about America. Maybe it was an anti-American sentiment that had you stash an illegal alien in the jury room and tell him to take the jury exit so he could make a mad escape. They chased him down. They caught him. Kash Patel said, no, this was a risk, not only to this illegal alien, not only to the federal officers who had to go out and chase him down, but also to the public. This judge put the public at risk by her actions. Well, that judge is now behind bars as she should be.
Asking whether a Milwaukee County judge obstructed justice by shielding a man from an ICE arrest at the Milwaukee County Courthouse. The incident happened Friday in misdemeanor court and could make the judge a target of a federal investigation. Nick Bohr tonight with that story.
Judge Hannah Dugan has been on the Milwaukee County bench for 9 years, but is herself under scrutiny after an incident involving a man wanted by immigration agents outside her courtroom Friday. According to a law enforcement source, ICE agents were waiting outside Dugan's courtroom for a man making a court appearance there, but Dugan is alleged to have shielded him to avoid his ICE detention. In an email to other judges shared with 12 News, Chief Judge Carl Ashley confirmed the presence of ICE agents Friday, explaining they had a warrant and were asked to wait outside the courtroom. However, Ashley said he, quote, had no information to provide as to what occurred inside Judge Dugan's courtroom. I spoke with Judge Dugan outside of her courtroom here this afternoon. She told me that she didn't wish to comment at this time, but there is a sign taped to her courtroom door that predates the Friday incident, but seems to reference some of the same issues. The sign urges any person who, quote, feels unsafe coming to the courthouse to contact Judge Dugan's clerk to request a remote hearing via Zoom. It's dated 4 days before the Friday incident. An ICE spokesperson told 12 News Tuesday morning they would not confirm the incident. They also wouldn't say whether the man in question was ultimately detained by ICE. At the Milwaukee County Courthouse, Nick Ford, WISN 12 News.
I was glad to see Pam Bondi come out and make a statement on social media and on the news shows, she came out and said, yes, I can confirm as the Attorney General, the leader of the DOJ, this judge has been arrested. She is in custody, will face charges and prosecution for the things that she did to aid this illegal immigrant. Y'all, she put everything at risk. Are y'all out your minds? Y'all risking it all for people who don't even belong here? I hope that when you are sitting behind those bars and those big concrete walls as you are incarcerated, I hope you have some time to think about how dumb it is for you to crash out over people who don't even belong in this country. What are you standing for? What are you falling for? Decorated with all those degrees, decorated with all those years of service behind the bench in that black robe, and yet so dumb.
They have taken the extraordinary step to arrest a judge for allegedly obstructing an immigration arrest. Let's get right to NBC's Gary Grumbach, who has been trying to work on getting this reporting for us. What do we know?
So what we know right now is that over the past several days and weeks, we've seen videos of people being arrested at courthouses by Department of Homeland Security officials when they show up for hearings to adjudicate their immigration status. And that is something we've seen over and over again over the past several weeks. Now, veteran circuit court judge up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, her name is Hannah Dugan. She's now being accused of trying to help out an undocumented immigrant avoid arrest. And I want to read to you FBI Director Kash Patel's tweet. He says in part, quote, just now, the FBI arrested Judge Hannah Dugan out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin on charges of obstruction after evidence of Judge Dugan obstructing an immigration arrest operation last week. He says, going on saying, we believe Judge Dugan intentionally misdirected federal agents away from the subject to be arrested in her courthouse at Eduardo Flores Ruiz, allowing the subject, who they call an illegal alien, to evade arrest. Now, they say that this individual was eventually arrested by DHS officials. This is something that is just developing, Anna, and we have not yet seen any court documents in this case, but we are awaiting further news on this topic. Anna?
Again, I know how fresh this is, Gary, but do we know how unusual is a situation like this for feds to arrest a judge?
Well, this is incredibly unusual. This is certainly not something we saw during the Biden administration, not even something we saw during the first Trump administration. But with the increase of importance of immigration as a priority to the Trump administration this time, this is what we have started to see. This is the very first time we've ever seen a judge arrested like this. But seeing these on-camera videos of arrests at courthouses of immigrants that are there to adjudicate.
A judge in Wisconsin was arrested this morning at the very courthouse where she works. Joining us now is NBC's Tom Winter. Back with us is Timoteo Oganga-Williams. So, Tom, what exactly happened here?
Right, so the details are still coming in, but the reporting comes from our colleague Mike Cosner at our Washington, D.C. bureau. He's reporting that Judge Hannah Dugan, who she's a Milwaukee County Circuit judge, was arrested this morning, quote, for allegedly assisting an undocumented immigrant in avoiding arrest after he appeared in her courtroom last week. Apparently, and by the way, we found out about all of this because the FBI director, Kash Patel, issued a tweet that has since been deleted. We're not sure why it was deleted, announcing this arrest and announcing these charges. And he said, quote, we believe Judge Dugan intentionally misdirected federal agents away from the subject to be arrested in her courthouse at Eduardo Flores Ruiz, allowing the subject, an illegal alien, his words, to evade arrest, end quote. So we're still trying to get some of the details as to what this individual was specifically brought into court for, what charges they were specifically facing, and some of the details of this arrest. I checked, just as you were talking to our colleague Chris Jansing there in Rome, the docket in Wisconsin, the federal charging documents have not yet been unsealed in this particular case. That's not particularly unusual when an arrest happens, and sometimes it takes a while for that paperwork. And remember, there's a time difference as well to appear on the record. So again, still trying to get some details, but again, the arrest was apparently made at 9:30 Eastern time this morning. This follows, by the way, Jose, some similar types of incidents throughout the country where judges have been involved in some of these ICE cases. Just yesterday, the Suffolk County District Attorney in Boston, a democratically elected district attorney, issued a report chastising the judge that was involved in an immigration case there, saying the judge acted improperly after the judge accused ICE and prosecutors there of basically colluding together to get somebody who was about to face trial. A jury had just been impaneled to be removed by ICE. The district attorney's office did an investigation into that and actually rebuked what the judge said. So there's definitely some pushback in law enforcement circles. And one of the things that the Suffolk County District Attorney pointed to there, which may or may not be relevant in the Milwaukee case, in this judge that was just arrested and the judge that we've been speaking about, is this idea of the supremacy clause. Basically, ICE has the authority, because they're a federal agency, to conduct these arrests, whether or not it's in a local courtroom or not. And there have been different steps and different things have been done over the years with respect to some of these arrests. And there's been a number of cases that have gone through this, even all prior to this current Trump administration. So it's definitely an issue that I think everybody thought would reach a particular point. It appears that it has this morning in the case of this Milwaukee judge. We'll just have to see what charges are ultimately brought once that docket becomes unsealed, Jose.
And there you have it, y'all. The judges of this country continue to crash out those who we hold in positions of authority over us. We say just because you got a black robe and you sit up there on that little throne situation, that you're supposed to have authority over us. You rule over us. You judge us every day. And here we are, as proud Americans, we watching you crash out. We watching you obstruct the executive branch and make decisions in your little tiny districts, make decisions that affect the nation, and obstruct the president from doing what we elected him to do. We voted for him. We wanted him to do what he's doing. And here you are in your little tiny district saying, I'm going to throw a monkey wrench into the whole situation because I can, because I have a black robe, because I have power. Well, your power is going to be challenged in this administration, and we're going to see how that thing wash out. Because the people are against you. Because the people voted for what is going on here. The people voted for all of these illegal aliens to be escorted en masse out of this country. Just as they were allowed in masse, we need them to be put out en masse. We don't need little black robe liberals trying to obstruct that, trying to work against the Constitution. You took an oath to uphold it. What are you doing? Sneaking illegal immigrants out the back door. What are you doing? Hiding illegal immigrants in your houses. What are you doing? Taking money from the cartels. Well, I hope that sooner rather than later, we can get to some answers to those questions and figure out who these people are. Psychoanalyze them, if you will, and really get to know what pushes them to be so anti-American. What pushes them to be the enemy within? What pushes them to be swamp creatures that don't want America to be great, y'all? Let me know what you think about this. I'd love to know your thoughts on this topic because these judges are crashing out and I am here for it. Gonna get the popcorn and enjoy the show. I hope there are dozens more that are uncovered and discovered. Because if you've been following the swamp, you know they're there. We see you, Boss Berg. We see you, Chutkin. We know you're there. And we hope you face justice, not the justice that you've been inflicting upon Americans, but that constitutional justice that all of us good American citizens believe in and push for, strive for, and try to uphold as law-abiding citizens and proud Americans of this country. We hope you get exactly what you deserve. Y'all let me know what you think about this in the comments. I'd love to know your thoughts, and don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share the video so we can get more people involved in the conversation, y'all. And don't forget to run over there to the Patreon and sign up. That way we can have further conversations like this where we can talk more in depth one unto another in ways that we can't communicate on this platform. And like I always say, y'all, always remember and never forget, without the gospel, it's just chops. Until next time, peace.